Hello guys and gals, and welcome to another episode of Unique Items. Today we're going to be looking at an elite crossbow. This is one of the higher level ones. It's level 71 actually, so pretty high level. And this one is a demon crossbow, which we have to talk about the base. So the demon crossbow is actually a negative 60 base. It's a very fast base, and which means that it's already like a really fast base bow. To give you a reference on speed like levels, a phase blade is a negative 30. Most weapons in the game are like negative 10. So the demon crossbow is obviously a very, very fast bow. Well, crossbow, rather. In fact, the Chukonu is also negative 60. That is also one of the negative 60 bases. Very interesting in terms of just like trying to make a bow like be as fast as humanly possible, or a crossbow, because of course you could socket it, you could put some even more IAS in there, you could wear IAS. You should be able to hit the max IAS breakpoint relatively easy with a bow like this, since it's already a relatively fast base. It is a demon crossbow, so it is already elite. It cannot be upgraded. It is 83 to 128 two-handed damage, which is kind of low for a elite crossbow. But the demon machine isn't about its physical damage so much as it is about its speed of attack. Like it wants you to hit like everything on the screen and like poke them in the eye, and they're like, "Ow, that kind of hurt. Like, can you stop shooting those things? They don't really. I'm kind of bleeding a little bit. Like, I don't like it." And then like 2 seconds later, they've got like 30 of them in them. Like, and then you gotta like, they're just trying to like pull them out, throw them back at you. Like, stop it. This is actually a real bow, by the way, a real crossbow. It's designed after a Chinese invention. It's actually like an auto-loading crossbow that just keeps firing over and over again. So it actually does fire really fast. If I remember correctly, though, the one in real life was kind of a failure. It does have 98 dexterity requirement and 141 strength. A lot of these crossbows do have relatively high strength requirements, which is a little bit of a downside for them because they I don't know, it's not really a good stat to build for a character who is trying to use a crossbow. We have level requirement of 71, which is relatively high, and definitely does posit this at an endgame level crossbow. It has 33% piercing attack, which is nice. If you can build your pierce up to about 66%, you can stack this with the bow, and it will very nicely hit 99%. Or if you're wearing something like Razor Tail, it will stack with Razor Tail to 66%, or the new rune word Wisdom, which also has 33%. You could stack all three of them together and hit 99, even on a character that's not an Amazon. 18% lifesteal is a lot of lifesteal, especially for hell difficulty. 18% is enough to get you by, and it does vary from 12 to 18%, thus the whole gut siphon thing, because it has a relatively large amount of lifesteal, but it kind of like cancels out the large amount of lifesteal by not having a relatively high amount of physical damage, because physical damage is a really big proponent of how lifesteal works. So obviously, if I'm hitting a monster for 1,000, 18% of 1,000 is a lot more than 18% of 100. It's just kind of silly when you think about it like that, because obviously the lack of physical damage on the bow does hurt the lifesteal effect and makes it less useful. 33% open wounds is pretty nice. Open wounds is the chance to deal damage based on your character's level. It lasts about 8 seconds, and it does prevent the monsters from regenerating while you were siphoning out their blood. Slows target 25% is also very nice because it causes the monsters to slow down, and this does stack with other slows targets effects, which is nice. You could of course stack the lifesteal with other effects, like if you had a really nice lifesteal ring, or if you had a really nice lifesteal like maybe you got some lifesteal gloves, or maybe you're running, like a lifesteal armor. There's all sorts of different ways you can add lifesteal to a character, and even like a dual leech circlet. And 18% is a really nice amount to start at. And by the time you're finished, you might have a hell of a lot more than 18% lifesteal. Right now I have 23%, which in hell difficulty does receive penalties, so do keep that in mind. And as you can see, I could just absolutely spray, arrows. Like, the speed on this bow is kind of insane, even without a shale rune in it. It's not bad at all. The damage, on the other hand, is not as good, but if you're trying to apply effects, like if you're trying to build like a chance to cast character, or you're trying to make a elemental damage character, speed is the paramount importance there, not physical damage. So it seems like this is kind of pointed more toward a chance to cast, or a character who is going to apply effects like open wounds, crushing blow. Deadly strike, of course, is going to come in handy, but of course as an Amazon you already have relatively high critical strike, so you don't usually need that from equipment. And it seems to be pointed more toward a character who is applying elemental damage than a character who's applying physical. Poison probably wouldn't be the best thing, because poison doesn't really take advantage of multiple hits unless you're just applying really short-term poison. It could work interestingly with venom, like if you ran a venom build on an Amazon to attack like as quickly as humanly possible. There's also a couple downsides to this bow, which I really don't like, is that, number one, it doesn't have any attack rating on it, which is a pretty big downside for a level 71 item. I don't know why it has no attack rating. It's got no attack rating. It's got no attack rating percentage. It's just, in general, it seems to kind of lack some of the things that you would really want on a crossbow. It also doesn't have any deadly strike. It doesn't have any, crushing blow. It does have the open wounds, which is nice, but usually you end up getting the open wounds from other sources. And then, of course, the enhanced damage does have a pretty big variable on it of 60%? It's 160 to 220%. So a lot of the times you'll find this in a kind of a poor condition with relatively low ED, and not really sure if it's too worth it. You would probably want to lean into the speed aspect of this bow. So if you did end up using this crossbow, you would just put a shale rune in it or something, or a 15% IAS jewel with some other effects, just to make it even faster than it currently is. It does have a piercing attack and open wounds with a large amount of lifesteal, which does make it an interesting choice for, say, freezing arrows on, exploding arrows on, maybe even just simply to use to spam a chance to cast effects, like with strafe. I do feel like it works very good with strafe. It's extremely fast. As you can see, I can attack like 10 times in a very short period of time. Let me just come out here real quick. You can literally see one strafe. Of course, he died before I even finished my strafe. It's like 1,000, 2 1,000. Like, it doesn't even take 2 seconds. It's like about 1.5 seconds per 10 arrows. So we're talking about 10 arrows being fired in the span of about 1.5 seconds. And that's without a shale rune. We can obviously speed that up a little bit. And as you can see, by like having my Hellfire Torch on, the chance to cast goes off like all the time. Because I'm firing so many arrows so quickly that literally I'm just chance to casting over and over and over again, with things like the Holy Bolt coming out of the Laying of Hands, the Hellfire Torch shooting out the Hellfire. It does, I guess, what it's supposed to do very well, which is hit a target a whole bunch of times as quickly as possible. Doesn't really have the physical damage attached to it, but you can tell because I have things like G-Face. I've got Gore Riders. We have lots of open wounds. We've got lots of deadly strike. So, for instance, right now I'm running 43% open wounds, 50% crushing blow, 63% deadly strike, and of course I have my own critical strike. So I basically got permanent double damage along with permanent or 50% crushing blow, which is applying to the targets all the time. And then the open wounds is also applying to the targets all the time too. So it's just tons and tons of chance to cast. I feel like it would work really good in a chance to cast build. Like if I were to run my Procazon, this could make an interesting bow choice for the Procazon. Especially when you add in all the pierces and how easy it is to hit the max breakpoint on the IAS. Could be interesting. Let's take a look and see where you could potentially find yourself a gut siphon. Not sure if I already did that or not. I can't even remember. I spent too much time talking about the bow, the crossbow. I don't know why I always say bow. It's a crossbow. It's not a bow. It's a crossbow. Alright, so let's take a look over at Silo's pen real quick, and let's see where we could find our gut siphon, shall we? It's kind of a cool name. I'm not going to lie. It's a cool name. Alright, so this is probably going to be an item that we're going to find in Hell difficulty. That's my guess. It's end game, so we're going to assume about 400% magic find. Because if you're hunting for this, you probably have a magic find character. We've got Hell Diablo at 1 in 9,631. Those are pretty terrible odds. Hell Bale, 1 in 1,191. So a much better chance from Bale than Diablo. Just in general, that's actually kind of insane. Definitely makes it seem like farming Bale is your superior choice for this particular bow. Which farming Bale is kind of a pain in the butt because you have to kill the waves. Neolithac's not bad at 1 in 9,185. Pindleskin isn't too terrible at 1 in 10,224. Might be better than farming Bale. And Thresh Socket, also not bad at 1 in 10,275. Everything else is horrible. Doc Farron is like moderately okay at 1 in 13,946, but past that it goes to 50k, 100k, 129k. Holy crap. Eee. Well, I mean, it's an interesting crossbow. I'm not really sure if I'd ever choose it specifically for a build, but it does have some interesting effects. I mean, it has massive lifesteal, it has open wounds, it has a very nice slows target effect, which is certainly going to be triggering all the time since you're spamming arrows everywhere. And it has very nice 33% piercing attack, which could come in handy on a character to cap off your piercing to make sure it's at 100%. All in all, I do feel like it's missing attack rating. It really could have some attack rating and a little bit more enhanced damage. Maybe some elemental damage would certainly have gone nicely on this. I almost feel like, and I hate to say it, but they probably should have put some poison damage on there to like go with the motif of like, you know, like siphoning out, you know, the life force of a person, especially since they went with open wounds as well. I mean, why not throw a little bit of poison damage on there also? I don't know. I can certainly understand why it doesn't get picked, though, over other items, specifically because it just lacks the physical damage that a lot of other bows have, which relegates it more toward the elemental damage side of the Amazon, combined with the chance to cast side of the Amazon. Which, you know, it makes sense, though. It actually would make sense for a very nice chance to cast build. As always, I do appreciate you guys and gals watching my videos, even when we're siphoning out the guts of our enemies. And as always, keep siphoning.